You know, there's a question that's been floating around the Star Wars community for decades, a duel that could have shaken the Jedi Temple to its foundations. What happens when the unbreakable shield of the Jedi Order, Obi-Wan Kenobi, goes up against its most powerful sword, Grand Master Yoda? This isn't just about who's a better fighter, it's a clash of philosophies. We're talking about the ultimate guardian versus the ultimate warrior. One guy wins his fights by being tougher and smarter than everyone else. The other is a literal storm of force energy. Today, we're settling this debate. We're breaking down a pure lightsaber duel and an all-out force war to see who walks away. So grab your lightsaber, because this is going to get wild. All right, before we get into it, we need to set the stage. We're taking both Jedi at their absolute peak, right around Revenge of the Sith. This puts Obi-Wan in his late 30s, a master in his physical and tactical prime. He's fresh off his wins in the Clone Wars, and he's not just the negotiator, he's one of the most reliable duelists in the entire order. His victories over monsters like General Grievous and Darth Maul prove he has a special kind of combat genius. For Yoda, we're looking at the 900-year-old Grand Master who confronted Count Dooku and Darth Sidious. He might be ancient, but he moves with a power that just defies his age. He's the living symbol of the Jedi's strength and is a master of all 7 lightsaber forms. He's most famous for his insane mastery of Form 4, Ataru. His connection to the Force is deeper than almost any Jedi in history. We're breaking this down into 2 fights. First, a pure lightsaber duel. No Force powers, just raw sword-on-sword skill. Second, it's an all-out war. No rules, no restrictions. Just the full might of the Force unleashed. Let's get into it. Okay, imagine our 2 Jedi in the training room. Sabers on, blue versus green. But here's the critical rule for round 1. No Force powers, no pushes, no pulls. For Yoda, this means no Force-assisted acrobatics. This is all about pure swordsmanship. And in this scenario, the odds shift, surprisingly, to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's be real. Yoda's entire fighting style depends on the Force. He's barely over 2 feet tall, which is a massive disadvantage in a sword fight. The Force is what turns him from a frail old master into a spinning green tempest. Without it, he's a 900-year-old with a walking stick. His body just isn't built for a high-intensity duel against a younger, bigger opponent in his absolute prime. Fan debates always circle back to this. Without the Force, Yoda's physical limits are just too much to overcome. Obi-Wan, on the other hand, is in peak physical condition. He uses the Force, sure, but his style isn't totally dependent on it for basic movement. Kenobi is the undisputed master of Form 3, Soresu. It's also known as the Resilience form, and it's the ultimate defensive style. It was originally made to counter blasters, but it became a nearly perfect defense against lightsabers too. Even Mace Windu called Obi-Wan the master of Soresu. That's exactly why they sent him after General Grievous. Anyone else would get overwhelmed by Grievous's forearmed attack, but Kenobi's defense was the perfect counter. He just stood his ground, parried everything, and waited for one single opening. We saw the same thing on Mustafar against Anakin. Anakin's aggressive Gemso style should have crushed him, but Obi-Wan's defense weathered the storm, frustrated Anakin, and pushed him into making a fatal mistake. In a saber-only duel, this is exactly what would happen with Yoda. Yoda's a master swordsman, but his attacks wouldn't have the force-fueled speed to break Kenobi's guard. Obi-Wan would be a brick wall. He wouldn't need to attack. He'd just have to wait. The physical effort of fighting against that constant defense would wear down an unaugmented Yoda. Obi-Wan would control the fight, forcing Yoda to burn energy while he saves it. He'd just outlast him, wait for that one moment of exhaustion, and then it's over. In a pure contest of blades, where the Force can't bend reality, the unbreakable shield wins. This round goes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, we take the gloves off. The doors to the Force are wide open, and the true power of these masters is unleashed. And here, the outcome is just as clear, but completely reversed. With the Force, Yoda isn't just a duelist. He's a force of nature. The second the Force comes into play, Yoda's physical limits are gone. He's no longer a little old man. He is a living conduit of cosmic energy. His favorite lightsaber form, Ataru, is now fully unlocked. Ataru is a hurricane of motion, a blur of force-powered leaps and flips that lets him attack from literally every angle. For a small guy like Yoda, it turns his size from a weakness into a weapon. He becomes an impossibly fast target, a green blur that's everywhere at once. We've seen what this looks like. Against Count Dooku, who had just embarrassed both Anakin and Obi-Wan, Yoda was completely overwhelming. Dooku had to run. Even more telling is his fight with Darth Sidious. In the heart of the Senate, Yoda went toe-to-toe with the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years. The fight was an explosion of raw force power, with both of them disarming each other and throwing massive Senate pods around like frisbees. And while Yoda did have to retreat, he fought Sidious to a standstill, a feat almost nobody in history can claim. Obi-Wan, as skilled as he is, just isn't on this level of force power. His use of the Force is tactical and precise. He's great with a Force push, but he's never shown the kind of raw telekinetic power Yoda has. His strength is his resilience, not his ability to dominate the battlefield with the Force. Against a fully powered Yoda, Obi-Wan's Soresusu defense would be pushed past its absolute limit. Soresu is designed to stop a single opponent's lightsaber, not an opponent who is both a lightsaber and a telekinetic cannon. Yoda could be in Kenobi's face with his blade, demanding all of his focus, while simultaneously ripping chunks out of the walls and throwing them at him. He could disrupt his footing, hit him with waves of pure energy, or just crush him with a direct telekinetic attack. For Kenobi, the duel becomes a desperate fight for survival. He'd parry the green saber only to dodge a flying pillar. He'd try to find his footing and get blasted back by a wave of force energy. Yoda's attack would be relentless, chaotic, and coming from all sides. Kenobi's defense is legendary, but it's a defense against something predictable. Yoda, in his element, is chaos. The sheer speed of Ataru, combined with a level of force power that could challenge Palpatine, would eventually break through that shield. It might take a while, but it's inevitable. This round isn't close. The win goes to Grand Master Yoda, but it goes deeper than that. Beyond the sabers and the Force is the battle of wills, the clash of philosophies. This is where the real fight would be decided. Yoda is transcendent wisdom. He's all about balance and patience. But in a fight, he's a paradox. The quiet sage vanishes and is replaced by an avatar of the light side's fury. This isn't a contradiction, it's a sign of his mastery. He can unleash that ferocity as a tool without being consumed by it. Obi-Wan is resilient guardianship. His life is defined by duty and holding the line. He's the negotiator, the Jedi who would rather talk than fight. This is his Soresu mastery in a nutshell. End the fight with as little aggression as possible. His biggest wins are psychological. He doesn't overpower people. He outthinks them and pushes them into a mistake. His line on Mustafar, "I have the high ground," wasn't just a fact. It was a psychological trap that Anakin's arrogance walked right into. In a duel, Obi-Wan's unbreakable calm would be his greatest weapon. He'd try to drag the fight out, hoping to exhaust Yoda's initial explosive attack. And here's the kicker. Some argue that even with the Force, Yoda's aggressive Ataru style is physically demanding. If anyone could survive that storm, it's Kenobi. But Yoda's mental game is on a whole other level. With 900 years of experience, he's seen every strategy. He trained Dooku, one of the greatest duelists ever. He would see Obi-Wan's plan from the very first move. He wouldn't get frustrated. He'd see it as a puzzle. And unlike Anakin, Yoda would not be tricked by ego. He would just adapt. Yoda's unpredictability is what would break Kenobi. Soresu works best against predictable, aggressive fighters like Grievous or an enraged Vader. Yoda is anything but predictable. His Ataru style is a chaotic dance, which would prevent Obi-Wan from finding the calm, centered state his defense relies on. Yoda could even use the Force to subtly test Kenobi's resolve, a light side version of the Sith mind game Dunmach. Obi-Wan's mind is a fortress, but Yoda is one of the very few beings in the galaxy who could find a way inside. So after breaking it all down, who wins? In a pure lightsaber duel with no Force augmentation, Obi-Wan Kenobi's physical prime and perfect Soresu defense would outlast a frail Yoda. But let's be honest, a real duel between these two would never have those limits. In an all-out war, with the Force unleashed, the conclusion is undeniable. Grand Master Yoda's overwhelming power, his unparalleled Force mastery, and his whirlwind Ataru assault would be too much for even Kenobi's legendary defense. Obi-Wan is a shield, maybe the greatest shield the Jedi ever had. But Yoda is a living storm, and a storm will always, eventually, break the shield. The undisputed victor is Grand Master Yoda. So, which fight do you think is the true test, the blade or the Force? Let me know in the comments who you think walks away with the win. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more Star Wars debates coming your way.